My name is Brian Wesley Johnson, and I want to welcome you to another edition of Soulivity Live. Hey, my sister, how are you?
It's Lent, right? Yeah. we might need some more wine for this.
So, let's get this party started, y'all. Hey, my sister, mademoiselle.
That is the most amazing introduction I have ever heard.
Oh. Of myself and Madison, Brian Wesley Johnson. Thank you for joining us on Saturday morning. You a life full of passion, purpose, and high quality living. See you next time. Bye. Hello and welcome to another edition of Soulivity Live, everyone. My name is Brian Wesley Johnson, and I am so glad you joined us because once again, you picked the perfect moment to get inspired. And we have a fantastic show for you today. Wow. We have Soulivity TV show host Sheila Applegate with us. She's from Consciously Awesome Live, a new show right here on Soulivity TV. And we also have filmmaker, producer, director, and author Natalie Rodriguez with us. Oh man, I can't wait for you guys to meet her as well. Now, let's get to today's show, shall we? My first guest has dedicated her life to supporting people in becoming their best selves so that they can live a great life. She believes that through inspiring messages, insights, and experiences to spark your inner excitement and fan those flames of hope, you can discover your superhuman aspects and then practically apply them to create the strongest version of yourself. Now, you can catch her every Wednesday at 1 p.m. right here on Soulivity TV on her new show, Consciously Awesome Live. Oh man, and this last show was like amazing. So you definitely want to go check that out. And so with all of this, it is my pleasure to welcome my friend and my colleague, Sheila Applegate, to Soulivity and Soulivity Live. Hey, Sheila.
Hello, how are you?
Oh man, I am so glad you are here with us. I've been looking forward to this. The new show is amazing. I want everybody to make sure, I keep repeating that because I really want people to go out and watch this amazing show every Wednesday. How's it been going? I mean, let's see, this last week was your third show.
Right.
And so
yeah.
How are you feeling about everything?
I'm loving it. I feel like, well, first of all, I'm loving Soulivity and being a part of the Soulivity team. That's like a dream for me come true because it's so many amazing people and every host has something really conscious and practical and beautiful to share. So I love that part of it. And I enjoy being a host and sharing the messages, helping people to live more inspired life.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, that's what we're all about, and we're so happy that you're here. Got some questions for you, but we're just going to talk. We're going to be talking about some stuff. From one of your books, you state, in each situation, in every minute of each day, you have a choice, and the choice is always the same. Do I choose to live from a place of love or a place of fear? And you say, my answer is, and it always has been, love in every situation. This is how I learned to create a beautiful world around me, and this is what I want to share with you. I love that. How do we start to choose love each day?
I think starting, like, the question is really good because you said, how do we start? Because it's a moment by moment choice, right? And probably the first step is becoming aware of what you're doing and why you're doing the things that you're doing. And so that you notice which one feels like it's from love and which one feels like it's from fear, because we do a lot of things in our life we choose based on just fear, survival, meet the bills, get the bills paid, take care of the kids, whatever that is. We're just kind of moving forward step by step without thinking past survival. But when we think about love, what would love do? What feels like the loving choice? And sometimes that's a deeper love than most people think. Sometimes love is not gentle. Sometimes it's a strong choice, but it's still a loving choice.
Right. And this is something that, some things about you that people may or may not know. I mean, you're a clinical therapist. You're both a motivational speaker. I mean, you're a podcaster, but you're also a life coach and all of this. And so for me, when I hear you talk about your own journey toward choosing love every day, what it feels like for me is that this is just not something that you're telling other people that they should do. This is something that you live in your own experience, so that as you are giving this information to other people, there's an empathetic connection that is made, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely.
When did your journey begin to start living consciously awesome?
Well, the term consciously awesome came later, but honestly, and this question, obviously gets asked a lot, but I don't actually remember a time when I wasn't. I think that this is something I was born leaning towards. Not that I didn't go through, more down times in my teenage years or something like that, but it's almost like for me, not choosing love is painful. So that, I guess, is not always easy, but that made it a determination for me to move forward in every moment. And then it just kept opening and opening and opening for me as major events happened in my life.
Wow. Now, part of the practice that you are trying to give people around moving out of this reactionary kind of life, right? Where you're born, okay, life is just happening to me, where actually I'm choosing, is that you integrate spiritual understanding into our daily lives, right? What does that mean? How do you define that?
So to me, we're all spiritual beings living a physical life. And most of us, and in the way society is built right now, we think of ourselves as physical and maybe try to connect to the spiritual, but we don't realize that we have that this physical part of us is not separate from, but a part of an entire vortex of energy that goes all the way to source energy, to oneness or God, whatever you want to name that. And so opening ourselves back up through meditation and awareness, we get to access those higher levels of consciousness in our daily life. And that makes it a lot easier, That's the superpower we all have.
Exactly. Now, what are some of the things that you tell people to kind of start? I mean, like if I had never heard of being conscious, right? What are some of the things that you would tell me to do? Like, how would I begin this process?
One of the first steps for people that I talk about is to explore your beliefs. And
okay.
Because we go through life, you know that term that like every parent says, just because it is, why do I have to do this, Mom?
Because I told you
that's
to.
what we do, Yeah. So there's a lot of that's what we do. And we're living our life based on that, right? You grow up, you go to college, or you go get a job, we don't stop to think. And from the moment we're born, we get bombarded with beliefs, and they come from parents, they come from peers, it comes from media, television, everywhere. It just is. And if we don't stop to think, is this a belief that I want? Is it one that I resonate with? Even if it was good for me 10 years ago, is it good for me today?
Yeah.
And so that awareness is like it seems basic, but it's a huge step when we start to pay attention to why we're doing the things we're doing. And then we have a conscious choice of whether we want to keep doing that.
Wow, as you talk about that, I'm one of the things that was kind of drilled in me, in a positive way, everybody, in a positive way, was we're born into the pain and the trauma of our parents, right?
Mhm.
They're parenting from a place of unresolved wounds and that kind of thing. And that as they become more aware, they become better parents to children. And we as the products of that, our job in relation to that is, like you said, what are our beliefs, right? What are we aware of? Because what you're describing in your show, in your podcast, in your books is this notion of you're creating another choice.
Right.
The choice that you had before is still there, right?
Mhm.
But you're creating a different choice that you can have better outcomes and have a happier life, right?
Right. Yeah.
Your last show was so powerful. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for opening up about your mother's transition,
Mm-hmm.
and how that relates to COVID and the global pandemic and the this mutual shared grief that
Right.
is around the planet right now. Um, Based upon your own process and what's happening right now on a global scale, what do you believe are some of the important takeaways that we should be focusing on right now?
That's a good question. Um, I this is it's a difficult time, and it's a difficult time for the whole world. And yet I see it as a transformative time. I see it as something that is leading us to a better world. And there is a lot of grief that is being brought up as people navigate through this, and so many people are dying. But there's a collectiveness, there's a wholeness. We are in this with all of humanity is
Mm-hmm.
experiencing this. And I don't know that there has been a time in the past where for such an extended period of time, all of humanity really was impacted at this level. And so there's a lot of benefits that come from that. And I believe also that, in the beginning when we saw that wonder, when everything shut down and there was wonder all around, everybody was like, oh my gosh, time is fluid now. What's going on? I'm like, oh, you're living the life I live,
Right.
We watch as at least in this country, and I don't know all the other countries, but I think we went from that, like, oh, there's other possibilities, to sort of we slowly already slid back into the mundane of those old beliefs. Well, we got to work. We have to open things up. We can't, if we give support to people, then they'll take advantage of it. All that stuff came back so quickly.
Right.
But I'm not concerned with it because I think it's here. It's out in our faces more. It's
Right.
not
Right.
anything. Before, everything used to be buried, and now it's at the surface to me, that's part of a healing process too. So I still feel very hopeful that this is leading us exactly where we need to be as a humanity.
I completely agree. I think that there are no coincidences, and that as a global community and as a global body, right? We're a body that is the planet, right? And there's no coincidence that this pandemic happened in this way that forced everybody to just be at home.
Right.
And now you're at home, and what are you going to do? Well, now you're in your thoughts, you're in the environment that maybe you try to avoid through, like, before this, you could go out, you could go hang with friends, and that kind of thing. And now what are you going to do? Right. And so, um, as you were speaking about this grief that people are experiencing, not only because of the amount of people that have transitioned because of COVID, but also because of this, we're getting in touch with our own personal trauma.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you did to, I don't want to give away everything on the show, because everybody need to go watch this last week's episode of Consciously Awesome, because Sheila, you shared some very powerful things that we need to be doing. But what are some of the things that you can share with us around the beginnings of how you acknowledged your own pain in that may also be related to, like, the ongoing kind of stuff that all of us are dealing with?
Right. I mean, for me, you've referenced it a little bit, but I cried right on air, right? And I told this whole heartfelt story. But for me, that's part of the spectrum of what I'm always working in, because my dedication also, we talked about beliefs and we've talked about spirituality, but the in between that space that ties those together is our emotions. So starting out as a therapist, and then moving into more of the spiritual work and the coaching, I'm a strong advocate for experiencing all of your emotions and being okay with that and being comfortable with that. And I think that that's a huge first step, to just be willing to experience it,
Ooh-wee.
Right?
Yeah.
So that, and not being afraid, like, there's nothing wrong with crying, there's nothing wrong with being sad when you're sad, and you can be happy and sad at the same time, and all of these things can be, it's a space of learning to be more comfortable. And like we said, with the collective all experiencing it right now, there's such an intense, palpable energy of grief and fear and joy and hope in the world that it goes beyond our individual experience. We're breathing it in. We're literally breathing the air of people who have exhaled fear and grief and joy and hope. And so it gives us this platform to dive deeper and know that we're not alone. The messages I got after the show were, oh, now that makes sense for me. Now I understand. Thank you. I didn't know why I was raging, because anger is part of the 5 steps of grief. And there is anger just coming out right now,
Right.
with the sadness, with all of it. So to me, again, that's exciting, because the more we feel, the more we connect to ourselves and to our soul, and the more we evolve humanity.
And you're providing, the support as we're feeling, right? Because I think one of the beautiful things that you're doing is you're saying, not only feel what you feel, and that you create the safe space to feel what you feel, But as you're feeling it, there's support for you so that you don't get into the fear of that, oh, my emotions are going to just completely overwhelm me and I'll be a basket case for the rest of my life, and all the other kind of talk that we tell ourselves, right?
Right. Yeah. Um, in the Consciously Awesome program, that is what the show is sort of stemmed from. Week 3 is emotions. Like, that's the lessons they work on in week 3 of the program, which is interesting that I did that on my 3rd show. But so many people just get stuck there, and I have to tell them, keep going, because when you go farther along, you're going to get more tools to connect with your soul, to connect with spirit. And those tools are going to make the emotions easier to navigate. And it makes me aware that I think that the fear of not knowing how to go through the depth of emotions, and because we haven't been supported in that, is what holds people from going beyond that into the miraculous wonder that they can experience when they connect deeper to their souls. And we're trying to do it absent the tools that actually help.
Right. While we have some time left, what can we look forward to in the next few weeks of Consciously Awesome? I mean, everybody,
Yeah.
I kind of know what's going on with you. So.
We have some amazing guests coming up in the next few weeks. This week, I have a conscious life coach, Chantel Lockwood, coming, and we're discussing conscious parenting. So that's sort of going out of the norm of what everyone thinks, like well, this is how we always did it, like, I have to tell people I have a 25-year-old and a 22-year-old, and they were never spanked, and they're brilliant adults out in the world. But people are so concerned, if you ever mention not spanking, like, people think, well, then there's nothing else, but there's so much else, right? So we're going to talk all about what it's like to parent from a conscious soul connection. And then the following week, I have a beautiful author from Spain who will be talking about writing and magical writing. So
wow.
And then we have Sandra Fish, who was on Sense8, the Netflix original series, which is a show that it's done by the Wachowskis, for people who don't know, and they did The Matrix. So very conscious show, and the actors we've met are great.
So to prepare for that show, everyone, you can go binge watch on Netflix and understand what Sense8 is all about. It is, it's a magical show.
Yeah,
it's deep, magical, and
you might need just get through the first 3 shows.
Yeah.
Because they're a little confusing, and I know why. Because the writers decided to let the viewers experience it as the characters were experiencing it. So as they're opening up and confused, you're confused. But then it makes sense after that.
which in of itself is something that's a little different in terms of writing. I know that on another series on Sci-Fi, The Magicians, they did it that way as well, where they didn't give people like 2 or 3 episodes or a couple of episodes to read, right? They was like 1 episode at a time, so you only know what's happening in that episode, and that it's being revealed. And this is the same way, cool. Right?
Yeah.
Oh man, my eyes will be glued to the computer for that show. And of course, everybody, you can go see it by going to our YouTube channel and all that kind of stuff. While we have some time left, I want to try to make sure that we have a little more in terms of giving people something practical that they can maybe do today or over the weekend. What are 3 different ways that, one of the things that you talk about is people discovering their brilliance,
Mhm.
Love that. Oh, I wish I had got that on my show. Um, but it's okay. You're smarter than me,
I'm
so.
on your network.
What are 3 ways that you think people can do today to learn to see the brilliance within them?
So, all right. My first key for everyone is to let imagination back in your life and put it back where it belongs, because it's actually the foundation of everything we do. Our brain is always imagining. That's how we get up in the morning. It's how we go out to our car and remember where it was, where we parked it. So when we let that imagination open and we stop stifling it, we open to see the beauty around us and let in new ideas. Meditation is a primary focus for me. I think that I created a technique called conscious meditation, which allows us to connect with our higher selves, with loved ones, both who've crossed over and the souls of the higher connection to people who are alive. And I think that sounds like a big deal, but it is an easy step, because you could go to my YouTube or my SheilaApplegate.com, and I have some simple meditations for you. But to begin, I like the basis of guided meditation, because it allows that imagination to lead you. And so if you experience the guided meditation and just let that come alive in your mind, even a small one, I think if you aren't used to doing that, will open things up a lot. And then the third thing that's coming to mind today, right in this moment, is to go out in nature and to imagine, I talk to my bunnies and they respond, my bunnies being the ones in the yard, not in my house. The birds, and I hear them, they respond to me. So I have all kinds of stories in the spring where the bunnies will one almost ran up to me last year, and I thought it was going to come up into my lap like a puppy, and it was just a wild bunny out there. And when we do that, when we connect with the trees and the animals and everything, we feel so much better. Like that in itself will start to unlock your magic powers, your superpowers.
Wow. Well, I am definitely going to take your advice, because everyone, listen, we're always on this journey, and we become more and more and more learned, and more we gain more mastery in the principles that you're talking about, Sheila, and that the more you practice them, the more you stay in this state of consciousness where you feel awesome. Your world around you is a reflection of you feeling awesome. So that's awesome. And you attract into your life just awesome things. So thank you so much for sharing your light and being here on Soulivity TV and keeping everybody inspired. I really appreciate it. I'm happy that you're here.
I'm happy to be here.
Well, everybody, listen.
Happy to be here.
You can catch Sheila every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern on her show, Consciously Awesome Live, right here on Soulivity TV. And remember, you can always go to our YouTube channel and you could subscribe, and you can always catch the alerts whenever we're going live. So we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we should come back with Natalie Rodriguez. So stay tuned and stay inspired.
Life is full of moments. And when sickness breaks your momentum, from the 5 a.m. stomach bug, or stress and anxiety at work, don't forget you have Teladoc. Great care options by phone, video, or app. 24/7 access to doctors. and access to therapists 7 days a week. From anywhere you are, day or night. Whatever it is, we're always ready to help. So you can get back to enjoying life's best moments faster. Life is good. Enjoy it well.
Natalie's with us. Yay!
Yes. Sorry for the delay.
Oh, no problem.
one of
No
those
problem.
things.
No problem at all. We were just giving you all kinds of kudos for
I'm
extraordinary,
not by. He's
ordinary.
gonna just right there.
Oh,
Yeah, thank you.
hey! Listen, everyone is
So sorry
welcome.
about that.
Sheila knows I have a
Yeah.
cat too, but she would
Okay,
just
nice.
take over. She'd push me out the way and
Yeah.
just take over.
Should want to be the host.
Welcome to
Yeah.
Soulivity
No, thank you.
Live.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, absolutely. We're going to show the trailer for Extraordinary Ordinary in a minute.
Yes.
As you can see, Sheila
Okay.
has already he's seen it too.
Yeah, I have. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Let's continue the talk about the movie, and then we'll backtrack, and then we'll show the trailer as well. This movie, I mean, oh wow, it seems so apropos at this time, right? I mean, this is such a powerful time, specifically for women, everybody.
Yeah.
Where this movie was just in sync with everything that's going on, and congratulations on all the awards and accolades that have come from it, because it's so powerful. And it cuts, like I was saying before, it cuts across so many different social issues as well. How did the idea, this kernel of this idea about this movie, how did that all come about for you?
Yeah, definitely it's a great question. For me, I was just, I kind of grew up in a society, or kind of like in a bubble, where you didn't talk about health in general, let alone mental health. You didn't talk about going to like the doctors, or it was almost like seen as, it was like a taboo, you don't feel sick upstairs, you might get physical, like to play sports, but you don't talk about what happens when you mentally get drained. And I think that always just bothered me, like growing up, was that wasn't being discussed. It was, well, no, this is happening. People, with my age, and I was going to school, there were like kids and teens taking like medication for anxiety or to treat depression. And I thought, okay, wait, how come we don't see like a lot of society talking about this? And I knew there was like a world outside where I was living. So I thought, okay, maybe it's where I live. Maybe it's just my neighborhood, or maybe it's just the county I'm in. So I, immediately wanted to do research. So kind of when I was writing earlier drafts of the film, I was looking into organizations like, okay, there has to be mental health organizations or some type of groups where people are talking about this, whether it's from their primary or secondary survivor, which is, they're talking about it themselves, or their loved ones, have experienced it. And I think it kind of just snowballed from there. Definitely just doing the research, I think, then asking questions, and doing a thing called, the cold email pitch. That's how it connected me with beautiful people around the world. And Twitter is actually was the biggest way of connecting with a lot of people from the mental health and wellness organization. So definitely shout out to Twitter for that.
Exactly, right? I mean, this is so rich. It is so rich. In fact, let's take a look at the trailer real quick.
Yeah.
Erica, you sound exhausted. Are you getting enough rest?
The doctor said I can continue with my normal.
Doctor? Erica, how are you feeling mentally? Erica?
Little going away gift.
It's vintage and everything.
I just want to make sure, because it's going to be difficult if you need something.
Nice camera, girl. Like vintage.
You're probably expecting someone a little older, huh? A little fatter, too?
It takes more than putting on that smile and act like everything is okay.
I miss her, Rob.
I know.
She has a boyfriend.
Yes, I've heard.
What does she need a boyfriend for when she has us?
Yeah, because that's the same thing. New girl.
They don't know, do they? Alex doesn't know.
I just want to help you. I get it that you're Little Miss Perfect, but some of us are not so with it.
Your past or your present does not make you less of a photographer, an artist, or human.
The firm has decided to open a branch in Laguna Niguel.
This is about Alex, isn't it?
You know, baby, they care about you. They really do.
I started looking up random quotes one day. Ones that deal with grief and healing.
Not a day goes by that I wouldn't want to switch spots with you in a heartbeat. I'm just so proud of you.
We just have to learn to keep living, knowing that these best years of our lives are sometimes cold like winter snow. That we love others, life, and ourselves. Like a caterpillar that transforms into the thinnest layer of something extraordinary. To the extraordinary.
2, 1, and we're back. Hey, wow. Everybody, Extraordinary is streaming on Amazon, right? And I think a whole other places as well, right, Natalie?
Yes, you can find us on Tubi, Google Play. We just got released on IMDb TV. So if you have Amazon Prime, I believe you can use that streaming app to watch the film free with the ads. So it's kind of like to avoid the rental fee, but you know, it's still good streaming hits for our film.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, we have a connection to California. All my mother's family's from LA, in the LA area.
Okay. Yeah.
And so I do my homework, of course. I heard that you used to beg your parents to go to Hollywood, right?
Yeah, I did. Growing up, I did. That's completely 100% true. I actually just talked about that with my mom last time I saw her, which was like maybe 3 weekends ago,
Mm-hmm.
3 weekends ago, excuse me. Yeah, and I was one of those kids. I grew up just outside the outskirts of LA County a little bit. So I was going towards like San Bernardino County or Pomona. It's like maybe 20, 30 miles out from LA. So LA was still like this whole new other world. So would ask my parents, hey, can we go to Hollywood this weekend? And they just thought that was like the weirdest thing ever. They're like, why would you want to go to Hollywood? Like, that's not for them, they were like, what? That's just like the most random thing you want to go. Like, I guess to them, they expect me to ask, can I go to like Disneyland, or can I go to my friend's house, or hey, let's go to the movies? But I was like, no, I want to go to Hollywood. Like, let's just go for the day. And sometimes they take me, other times they wouldn't. And I think they would kind of have fun because it was like an adventure. So it was like an outing for us, but usually they're like, no, maybe another time.
Wow. And I mean, but that makes sense. You know, us looking at your career now, you know, looking back, like, of course you wanted to go to Hollywood. I mean, this was kind of like you wanted to spread your creative wings, right? And it's so evident. I mean, the books, the films, I mean, the screenplays. I mean, you're knocking it out of the park. It really seemed that you found your passion early on, and that you were moving it forward, just dedicating your life to it. Tell me what it means for you to be able to express yourself through these different aspects. I mean, writing a book is a little different than writing a screenplay, which is a little different than directing, which is a little different than producing and being a filmmaker, right?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. They're so different. It's a blast. I mean, working in all aspects of that, you know, writing the screenplay, the books, or directing. It's just, there are other ways of staying creative. And for me, they're all storytelling. Even producing, it's still a different form of storytelling. But it's kind of like, you know, maybe it's not, you don't have to go, of course, like deep into the character's thoughts. You know, it's more like you're trying to bring the story to life, like more of like the funding behind it or getting your cast and crew. But it's just such a blast. I mean, I kind of never thought in a million years I would branch out to doing like other things besides writing. I would do storytelling through other platforms or other formats. Right. So it's a little surreal sometimes, I'll be honest. I think it's like the books, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Like, it's, you know, the book 2 has been out for a little over a week now. And I think I'm still like almost kind of processing it, because I'm sure, like, as many of you know, like, you know, with projects, you're working up until the day of the release date. So you're making sure, you know, everything's like good to go on Amazon, everything's good to go on those platforms, or you're just like so anxious. So you're just like, okay, I have to go and promote it and share this with my family and friends or social media. So I think it might kick in like that, you know, it's out there, like these projects, especially with the books, because it's still more fresh, probably like after the weekend. I'm guilty of that. So I think it's like, I'm still like in work mode, and sometimes I'll be like, did I forget something? Is everything like good to go? And, you know, I think I'm looking forward to that, because it's been a kind of a busy week. And I think that's common for any project. I think like the first 2 weeks are still kind of going through like, okay, I think everything's good, to kind of like be able to take a break and rest.
Exactly. Well, you know, like rest, like, what's rest?
What is that? Yeah.
Well, speaking of books, you released your first book. Was it Elephant? Elephant is your first book. Let's take a look at the trailer for that. I love these trailers, by the way. Oh my God.
Thank you.
Let's take a look. Woo-wee! Creepy, but I love it. Oh my goodness. This is your first young adult novel. You released it in June of last year. I mean,
yes.
You haven't slowed down at all during the pandemic. It's like, pandemic what?
Yeah, which I think that kind of happened because of the pandemic. The projects all kind of collided. But I'm always like, but no, like, you know, a few months in advance, you had them planned. But of course, no one knew this pandemic would ever happen. So it was like, well, let's push this project back. And then I'd be like, oh, wait, a few weeks, this one comes out. And I'm like, oh, okay, like, damn, like, I got to kind of like slow down. So I've been guilty of that. You know, that kind of was the beauty of that is, you know, it has been getting good responses, you know, during this time. And that was tricky was, well, how do we market it? Especially when you have third parties involved, sometimes you have to like proceed.
Right.
So I've been very fortunate that, you know, they've been doing both the film and the books. They've been doing well, and they've been getting good, you know, getting some good feedback. So I think, you know, that's been like the kind of put my worries to rest, like, you know, oh gosh, like, how's this going to be releasing stuff during, again, like the pandemic? But I think there's ways to market it. So I know marketing, I would try to be careful, like, okay, how to promote this.
Well, I mean, everything's been doing well. I mean, and again, congratulations. I mean, now specifically this book, just like your films, is multifaceted. And the main character is the timid Matt.
Yes.
Oh, Matt.
Yes.
And it's like, in part, it's like a story of transformation. And I mean, there's so much to ask about this. What's the importance for you of telling Matt's story?
Oh gosh.
And everybody, you have to go out and get the book so you can know a little bit more. But these are like these basic kind of questions that'll pull you in.
Yeah, definitely. They're on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. But definitely with Matt. Matt's my favorite character I think I've ever written. Just because I feel like so like mother hen for him. So I definitely like, I feel so worried about him. I guess getting the responses, I didn't realize his journey is, like you said, like there's a lot he goes through physically, mentally, and there's been, you know, nightmare sequences. So definitely, I think with the books, I mean, just so far getting from reviewers or bloggers. I like smile and I'm like, oh, they, pointed out like, oh, Maddie's voice is being heard. Maddie's finding his voice. He's learning boundaries. And I'm just like, oh, yes, like that's like something I've always wanted for the Maddie character. And, that makes me like so happy to hear. And that was like last night I got a review that said that. Like I'll read it and I'll be like, oh, yeah, this is a little bit of a darker story. It's a little darker than the films, but I think they tend to wrap up like this blogger yesterday. They're like, but this book is showing like, Maddie's someone like Maddie where they're timid and shy, like they do find their voice. So definitely, I mean, that's always been a dream of mine with Maddie's journey was, that his voice can get heard and, people could see like, hey, it is possible, for you to put boundaries at some point in your life. Just there's no like prerequisites or like those deadlines to do. And I'm hoping, people can still resonate with that with his journey.
Now, you said that you feel like you're his mother hen. Are there like some personal connections to this story for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think because with Maddie, I grew up just always, he's like that one character. Anyone who writes or anyone I think that even reads, like there's always that one character that I think you just, I don't know, day and night, you like think about going to bed, you wake up thinking about them. And the books actually started it came from a school assignment I did at Coral Summit Elementary over there in Diamond Bar, California, a very suburban, small town. So that's why I think I feel that connection with Maddie. It was started as a school project, it was a little 10-page, like typed out, handwritten, short story for a project for school. And I just, after that, I was like, oh, this was fun to write. Like I should make it longer. So I would sit there, for months, years, writing it on like little journals until I eventually, managed to get access to a desktop. I didn't grow up with laptops or a desktop. It was kind of like a luxury. So that kind of came in later. But I think it was just kind of, that obsession with, oh, this was fun to write. I wonder, if I'll still enjoy this like post, outside of school, if it wasn't a project, would I still like be kind of happy to go home and write it, or would I be energized, to wake up and start those pages?
Wow.
And I'm glad I did, because I think it was just that kind of what if bothered me. I was like, I have to just kind of try, or I'm just gonna regret it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you did it, and this Elephant is going to be part of a series, right? There's book 1 and then book 2, yes, and then maybe book 3.
Yes, maybe. I'm always like, stay tuned. So book 2 just came out. So we see book 2, without giving too much away, we see a kind of Maddie's journey. I don't want to say coming to a full conclusion, but we do see him get his closure. Ooh. And as well as the people in his life. So wow. I'll leave it there.
I can't wait to read it.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, while we still have some time, I want to make sure that we talk a little bit about Howard Original.
Okay. Yes.
When I see this, when I'm seeing this, it's like there are like 3 elements here. This is so funny, everybody, when I say this. There's a screenwriter with writer's block. Okay, that in of itself can just be a whole story. And I'm sure that you've gone through that because you're a screenwriter as well. Yeah. A cabin in the woods, right? Mm-hmm. And then a pet cat.
Yes. Yes. I see that. Like, I'm like, yeah, that does sound like 3 different stories.
Right. But it's all in one. Now, this was originally a short film that you released in 2017, right? That did very, very well. Did you always want to create a feature-length film of this story?
Not until maybe about a year and a half ago. Because it was actually the short film. It was something, it's one of those projects my friend and I, we were bored and we're like, he's like, oh, we should write like a script based on jokes we talk about. Cause he's also screenwriter, director. Because every time we'd meet up, there was like a time in my life where I always used to go to, we used to meet up at, the Crave Cafe. That's what it's called in Sherman Oaks. And we'd always like talk about the life of a writer, kind of the life of the artist. And then one day, I was like, that would be funny, like in a script, like to hear in a character. And that kind of snowballed to, let's just write it and then let's film it. If it's awful, then it's our fault that it's bad. And that was the short film. So when the short did pretty well, did good in the festival circuit, we were both kind of shocked. We're like, oh, like, this is interesting. It was like an experimental project. Like we had no intentions of honest, like releasing it to the public. It was just kind of one of those
Well,
like,
who wouldn't
oh,
love
let's just try
those
this.
elements? I mean, you throw in a pet cat that,
Yes.
hey.
Yeah. And the pet cat was actually for the short. It was because we filmed at my buddy's house. He had like a cabin looking, I guess maybe studio flat. I think that's what they're called. And there was a stray cat that would just walk by his house. And I thought, oh, we should get a shot of the character with this cat to show, like, literally, it's the running joke in screenwriting world. It's called Save the Cat. And there's screenwriting books that say, what is it? It's, if you have a character that's sort of not unlikable, you got to have your save the cat scene, which is literally they can save a pet's life. So it kind of was like a sign. And that's why we kept it for the feature, because at the person's house we filmed, who's also our editor for the feature, he has a cat. So I'm like, oh, it's perfect. I'm like, okay, so there's no way we can't not shoot this. We have to like take advantage. Like, it's a sign. So definitely the short kind of was like one of those happy accidents. I mean, it's completely different from what I've written or directed. And, from like peers who've seen like earlier cuts of it, they're like, oh yeah, it's completely like different. But for me, I think that's always like something I want to hear, because I always want to try different things, genre-wise, or like those crossovers. You got your rider, your pet cat, the cabin in the woods. Like, I love it, because I mean, hearing you say that, I was like, oh yeah, like that almost sounds like 3 different genres, like a scary one, your comedy drama, and then like maybe a possible family fantastical like crossover. So it's Howard original. It's our happy accident, and I mean, we're really excited because I mean, features day, a lot more work, and a lot more. You're watching, film cut after film cut, and I think I've seen it like 14, 15 times at this point. So I'm like, all right, let's just push it out there. But hey, that's like the nature of making these films. It's that's like the beautiful journey of it too. It's you're definitely seeing like how far it's come since the first cut.
Now, where can we see Howard Original? Has it been released yet, or
not yet?
Okay.
So we're coming out late this May.
Okay.
It'll be hopefully in theaters sometime this year,
Okay.
and it'll definitely be available on Amazon Prime and similar streaming platforms like The Extraordinary Ordinary, Tubi, Google Play, and then a few months, hopefully by the end of this year, just depending on things like with the pandemic, of course, IMDb TV, and then iTunes. But definitely, if people can follow us, it's a Howard Original 1, Twitter, Instagram, if you want to keep keep updated with the release date, and if you want to see some behind the scenes photos of some of our film festival virtual premieres we had. And we have our star there, Phantom the cat, who was in the feature. So we've been posting his little headshots here and there.
Yeah, you're gonna have to do a film on the cat.
I know. Oh, he was great. And in fun fact too, he was a little feisty during like the first takes we did with them. And it's weird. I'd been around this cat before, but for some reason, the days we were filming, I broke out in a rash, like on my arm and my face. So I had like an allergy attack, and I just remember some of the crew was like, do you want to go home? I'm like, no. I'm like, I'll just suffer. It's okay. Like, I'll figure it out.
Gosh.
It was so
Pass
weird.
Me the calamine lotion.
Pretty
and
much.
cut.
I was like, do you have like cocoa butter? It was just like, I was like, I never gotten like a rash from having cats, and I have a cat too, of course, as you saw earlier. So it was just like it's one of those like filmmaking 101 things. Like, of course, it would happen as you're like filming. Like, that's kind of like the nature of, I could think, any art project you're making.
Wow. Well, we're going to end our show by showing the trailer for Howard Original. But I want to thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Would you come back? After it's released, and we can talk some more about Howard Original and, some of your other projects?
Yes, no, I definitely love to, and I think you'll have I would love to introduce you to my actor and co-writer on the film, Kevin Michaels. He's, fantastic actor, fantastic, filmmaker himself. So definitely think you'll get a kick like talking to him too.
Fantastic! Yes. Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
You're such an inspiration. I mean, you fully embrace, as I was saying at the top of the interview, you have fully embraced all of who you are, the passion that's within you, and you are unapologetically just doing it and going for it and just spreading your wings. And I think people need to see and hear about people like you who are just doing it. I mean, who said that you just have to be a director? Who says that you just have to be an author? Who says, and that's the spirit of what we want to celebrate all through this month, specifically because it's Women's History Month and it's also International Women's Day was just, is coming up. So thank you for being here. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that too. I mean, really, thank you. It means a lot. And yeah, I know people should know, like, you can do whatever you put your mind to. And I think if people are like, you have to be one thing only, I'm just like, then more of the reasons why to pursue, those multi-task or kind of hats to wear.
Exactly.
Because I think it's, those are people I look up to. They act, they do podcasts, they direct, they AD on set. So it's like, I love being around people too that like just staying creative, there's so many ways of being creative.
Exactly. So thank you so much. And
thank you so much.
Don't be surprised. You better take my call for this next interview.
I will. Well, that was you. You know what? The DC. Okay, so I didn't know that was you because I emailed from my phone. Then I looked at it. I'm like, okay, so that was him who called.
Listen.
I know it's a bad habit, but I keep thinking it's LA based.
And everybody, listen. It's a live stream show. Everything can happen.
Yeah.
We're just glad you're here, and we really look forward when you come back.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
All right. Everybody, listen, I want to thank my guest, Sheila Applegate from Soulivity TV show, Consciously Awesome Live. And of course, the wonderful Natalie Rodriguez, who's here. This has been an awesome, awesome show. I told you it was going to be awesome. Listen, while we have some time left, I want to remind everybody, you can watch this show and all our other shows on this channel as well. So make sure you go check that out. Also, remember to follow us on social media if you want to hear about awesome shows like today's shows with Sheila and Natalie. Subscribe to us on Instagram or Twitter, and then you can find out about everything that's happening on Soulivity. And also, if you're looking for a gift for someone or maybe a gift for yourself, check out our Go Shop. From beauty products to books, everything is there to help keep and get you inspired to living your best life ever. So, again, thank you for joining us on Saturday morning, and we'll see you next week as well. On behalf of Sheila, Natalie, and myself, Brian Wesley Johnson, I want to wish you a life of passion, purpose, and high quality living. We're going to end this show with the Howard original trailer, and I hope when it comes out that you're going to go check it out because Natalie has made some fantastic films, and I think this is going to be another one. Bye bye. See you next time.
Howard.
I'm Howard Original. I'm a screenwriter.
Wake up, Howard.
And a drunk, but I had to get away. Go someplace, a place I can write and not be disturbed.
How many people want to be writers? They like the idea of being writers. You did it.
Selfie.
You get signal up here?
Listen up. Writer's block. Just put Machete in there somewhere, and the block will go away. He's known to cut through a block. Good writing. Keep it up.
My name is Brian Wesley Johnson, and I want to welcome you to another edition of Soulivity Live.
Hey, my sister, how are you?
It's the lens, right? Yeah. we might need some more wine for this.
So, let's get this party started, y'all.
Hey, my sister, mademoiselle.
That is the most amazing introduction I have ever heard.
Oh. Of myself and Madison, Brian Wesley Johnson, thank you for joining us on Saturday morning. A life full of passion, purpose, and high quality living. See you next time.